you came to be at the detention centre and your experience in the detention centre?
Well, as I said, when I was a young boy, my mother and father were always out the house, and there was 8 of us. There was never any food in there. So, what from waking up in the morning, my intentions were to get out, have some fun, and feed myself, regardless of where the food come from. I didn't care, and it was usually the biscuit factory, McVitie's, or it was the crisp factory, the Golden Wonder crisp factory in Widnes, and we'd just rob food, eat loads of it, scattered it everywhere, you know, just things like that. And there were other things, obviously, as well. We were caught shoplifting food, we were caught damaging property and stuff like that, and small charges built up over a number of years, and I ended up being sent to a place called Starnthwaite Gill. And at that time, it was something that the government had introduced called intermediate treatment, and it was supposed to get hold of boys that were going off the rails, you know, devilment, more like naughty boys than criminals, you know, and teach them a new way of life. And it was fantastic. It was absolutely brilliant. We were going mountain climbing, Helvellyn across the Striding Edge, Buttermere Valley, looking up at the sky of a night with no light pollution, and just being able to reach out and touch things, and then canoeing down rivers in rapids, sailing on Lake Windermere, Coniston, all of that. I loved it. I absolutely adored it. The food was brilliant. The beds were clean. You were treated like a human being. So when the 3 months was up, the 90 days was up, I didn't want to come home, you know, because I was going straight back into my life that I had at home then. So when I got out, it never really taught me anything except for a longing for the better things in life, you know, sailing, as I said, and canoeing and mountain climbing. And I hadn't changed at all, except that I had these memories of the Lake District now, and I knew there was more out there. So it never stopped me from breaking into the biscuit factory, the crispy, or scrumping, or anything else, because I wasn't bothered about the consequences. You know, they sent me back there, that'd be brilliant for me, I'd love it, you know. So I didn't really learn from it the way you're supposed to learn. And then that's the thing as well. When I was first sent there, I thought it was a prison in my mind, even though I was only a young lad, I was only 15. I thought it was a prison, you know, and I was being punished and it was going to be harsh and everything, and it wasn't at all like that. But then when it come to Medhamsley Detention Centre, I remember distinctly the drive up there. We were taken straight from Magistrates Court in a police car to Medhamsley. And I remember coming down the country lanes and looking at Medhamsley, you know, between the trees as you went over the hill and all of that. And it was beautiful. It reminded me of Starnthwaite Gill, old Victorian buildings, although there was a big fence around it, it was see-through the fence. But it just looked wonderful, you know. And I thought, we're back in this. I'm back in Starnthwaite Gill. I'm going to love it. That's another thing as well. We was driving through the countryside and there was apples on the trees and all of that, things like that. I'd love as a kid to come across a few apple trees, be straight up them and raiding the apple trees, you know. So I thought, I'm back in Starnthwaite Gill. But I was soon woken to what was going on in there. At first, when I first went in, I said in my book, I laughed at one of the boys that didn't say sir when he was told off, and ended up getting punched full in the chest by this officer, knocked me off my feet. And I knew then, this isn't Starnthwaite Gill. I'd never been hit in Starnthwaite Gill. This is something serious. You've got to, you know, get your act together. So, which I was used to anyway with my home life. I was always getting battered off my mum, all the time, every day, because I always ignored her and went out and did what I wanted to do for the day. So I knew I had to keep my head down, and I knew I had to watch myself, which I quite successfully did to a degree. You still got hit, even though you avoided most of it. And in the gym, I was quite a fit lad because I was always out riding bikes, running, anything. And it was hard, the gym. It was really, even for me, being a fit lad, it was hard. And there were boys in there that were mollycoddled, chubby boys that weren't fit, you know, that had been proper looked after by the mum and dad, and they couldn't hack it. They'd be not being able to finish the repetitions in the circuit training and throwing up on the floor and then being kicked around the circuit by Onslow, the officer. You know what I mean? So I knew this is something really bad, but I was quite happy to put up with the little bits of violence I got from the officers, and I could cope with it. I could shrug it off. My mother had given me much worse. But one day I was scrubbing the corridors within detention centre. It was called Six Party Cleaners, and everybody went on that when you first went in there. And I felt this tap on my shoulder, and it was husband. And all that he said to me was, kitchens tomorrow morning. And that was it. Walked away. And I thought, I'm going in the kitchens. It's great in the kitchens. Tons of food. You know what I mean? You're away from all of this. It's going to be wonderful. And I was absolutely over the moon. And when I got into the kitchens then, and I was put on washing up. 2 big sinks. One was full of red hot clear water, and the other one was full of red hot soapy water. So you washed and then you rinsed in the things, your pans and all of that lot. And I could cope with that, even though the water was scorchingly hot. I could still cope with it. But then that night, he held me back. Then this is the very first night in there. He held me back to, you know, primarily to do the suppers. You got a piece of duff every night, a big piece of sponge cake and a big mug of tea. And you took it round to all the other lads, you know what I mean, and dished it all out. And then you went back down to the kitchens and cleaned everything up in the kitchens and what have you. Or that's what's supposed to happen, but it didn't happen like that. I'd been round with the trolley and dishing out the duff and what have you, and I got back there and he took me upstairs into a storeroom, and he put me in the storeroom and said, clean it up. Didn't look very messy to me anyway, but he said, tidy it up, you know. So, and shut the door, and he locked the door and went away. So I was there for about 10 minutes, and all they did was straighten a couple of boxes, but in some of the boxes there was icing and marzipan for the cake decorations. It looked like they'd made a whole cake and then broken it up, but without the cake, just the marzipan and the icing and everything. And I'd got a big piece of icing and marzipan, and put it in my pocket for my friend, just as he came in the door. And when I thought I'd been caught, you know what I mean? I thought I was going to get a kicking, a proper good kicking this time, but he hadn't. That's when he first molested me. He just stood in, oh no, sorry. He lit a cigarette and started talking to me and gave me a cigarette. You couldn't smoke in there, it's strictly against the rules. You lose time, remission. And I was a bit reluctant to take it at first, you know what I mean? But he was such a pleasant, nice man. You know, he started to talk to me. He knew all about Widnes, the rugby league team, and everything. And I got into quite a nice conversation with him. But then all of a sudden, he put his hand down my trousers and started to play with me. And I was shocked. You know, I'd had no sexual experience with anybody at that time. It was, to me, girls didn't like me. I was a scruffy lad, you know, that was a nuisance more than anything. I certainly wasn't mature. And I pushed him away, and that's when he grabbed me round the throat. And he squoze until I couldn't breathe, and it was like ringing in the distance. I could hear noises that were going on around me, but I couldn't really see anything. And then I passed out. And I couldn't have been out long, really. But when I come round, he was raping me. And from then on, I changed completely. I'd never experienced anything like that in my life. Any kind of sexual thing ever in my life. And I didn't know what to do. I had no fight. It's a little bit hard. Can you just...
Yeah, if you could stop for
can you
Yeah.
stop?